In the 1970s, when the Dolphins went to their first 3 Super Bowls, Bob Kuechenberg, number 67, was there. In the 1980s, when they went back to the Super Bowl, Kuechenberg was still there. Older, grayer, but still one of the best offensive linemen in all of football.
I've been blessed because all I ever wanted to do was play football. I was able to chase my dreams, and to be able to play with Miami Dolphins for 15 years under Don Shula and win 151 games, that's really more than I could ever dreamed of.
For 15 seasons, number 67 helped power the Miami ground game. As a pulling guard, Kuechenberg cleared the way for dozens of Miami running backs.
Bob Kuechenberg is probably like an old-time football player. Gives 100% all the time. He's dedicated, and he's the kind of guy you'd like on your team.
Bob Kuechenberg is one of the toughest men that I've ever coached. Larry Zonka really loved to play, and he was down in the mud and the dirt and bloody and would play hurt. Kuechenberg is that type of football player.
Bob Kuechenberg demonstrated toughness and versatility in his long career. He played every offensive line position, including left tackle, where he started for 2 seasons and made All-Pro in 1978. When the Dolphins held the 10-year reunion of the 1972 Super Bowl team,
Howard Twilley,
the heroes of that perfect season came back to the Orange Bowl. But only Bob Kuechenberg was still in uniform. He was 35 and still going strong.
I had 5 or 6 games in the playoffs in '81 and '82 that were really good. I seemed to do my best when I was playing against the best competition. I did well against great players.
Kuechenberg played on 8 division championship teams. The Dolphins went to the playoffs in 11 of his 15 seasons. He anchored the line in the 1980s when Miami, with a strong-armed young quarterback named Dan Marino, made the transition from a power running team to a big play passing offense. Kuechenberg and Coach Don Shula were there the whole time. They had come a long way from their first season together in 1970.
After having gone to Notre Dame and the tremendous enthusiasm there and working and playing for Ara Parsegian, who was a very emotional, dynamic leader and all the natural enthusiasm that happens up there, I remember coming down to work for Coach Shula, and his pregame speech was not a rah-rah, let's go out win one for the Gipper thing that you had in college. And so I remember thinking, gee, is that all there is? He talked about doing your job and not making mistakes, and that was it. And as a young player, I thought, well, gee, this is one of the greatest coaches that ever lived, and he's very businesslike. Well, Don Shula never stops. Month in, month out, year in, year out. Don Shula just out-prepares. He just is so consistent.
In the 1970s, Kuechenberg played alongside center Jim Langer, number 62, and right guard Larry Little, number 66. Behind them were quarterback Bob Greasy and fullback Larry Zonka. Together, they were unstoppable.
In that sense, football is not unlike baseball in that you look for a team that's great up the middle. In baseball, catcher, pitcher, short, second base, and center fielder are usually is where your talent is. And that's true. In our case, with our style of football, if you let Larry and Jim and myself do what we were supposed to do to that middle of the defense, there's not a whole lot you can do to stop that.
Jim Langer and Bob Greasy are both in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Larry Little is also in the Hall. So is Larry Zonka. Kuechenberg has not yet been enshrined in Canton, and his teammates feel his election is long overdue.
Guys like Wayne Moore, Larry Little, Norm Evans, Mike Curran, Ed Newman, and my roommate of 9 years, Bob Kuechenberg, who, Coach, you better get ready. That is what this game is all about.
Bob Kuechenberg played in 215 regular season and postseason games with the Dolphins. He is such an integral part of the team's history that he was asked to deliver the eulogy at the funeral of owner Joe Robbie in 1990.
Joe was feisty, but I had tremendous respect for him because nobody ever gave Joe Robbie anything. He grew up dirt poor in the plains of the Dakotas, worked his way through law school, and I think started the Miami Dolphins with something like $10,000 of his own money, and he was able to do what men far wealthier than him were unable to do, and that was bring Major League sports to the state of Florida. Put it this way, if I were in a foxhole, I would like Joe Robbie in the foxhole with me. I would like him to be on my side and to be asked by his family to say a few words over him is one of the honors of my lifetime.
Bob Kuechenberg, a proud old warrior and a winner right to the end.